You might feel like you are nothing more than a memory she has already placed somewhere in the past. It can feel as if you were just a chapter in her life that she finished reading and quietly closed. Maybe you imagine that she has already moved on, smiling in photos, living her life as if the story you shared together never really mattered. But the truth is often very different from what your mind tells you during those quiet moments late at night. Right now, you might be walking around believing that you were only a small part of her life. You might think that someone else could easily replace you, that another man could step into your place and everything would continue as if you were never there. Yet people are not as easily forgotten as we sometimes believe. When two people spend time together, when they share experiences, emotions, and meaningful moments, something deeper is created. A memory is formed that cannot simply be erased. In many cases, the person you once were to her becomes a kind of reference point, a quiet standard she unconsciously compares other experiences to. But here is the difficult truth many men struggle to accept. The biggest mistake is not that you did not matter. The biggest mistake is trying too hard to prove that you mattered. When someone begins chasing validation, sending message after message, or constantly seeking reassurance, it can unintentionally create pressure, and pressure rarely inspires connection. So before you assume that you were forgotten, take a moment to understand something important. Sometimes the strongest impact you leave on someone is not proven by how loudly you try to be remembered, but by the quiet strength with which you choose to move forward.
After a relationship ends, one of the most painful thoughts a person can have is the belief that they meant nothing to the other person. You might look at her life from a distance and feel as though she has moved forward without hesitation. She may appear happy, busy, and completely unaffected by what happened between the two of you. From the outside, it can look like the story is over and that you were simply a small moment in her life that has already faded away. But appearances are not always the full truth. People often show the world a version of themselves that looks strong and stable, even when their emotions are still unsettled beneath the surface. Many individuals learn from a young age to manage their feelings privately rather than display them openly. Because of this, someone can look calm and confident in public while still processing memories and emotions in private moments. Silence does not automatically mean indifference. Just because someone is not reaching out, posting emotional messages, or openly discussing the past does not mean the relationship had no impact on them. Human emotions rarely follow a simple pattern where someone feels everything at once and then suddenly feels nothing. More often, memories stay quietly stored in the mind. They appear unexpectedly through familiar songs, places, conversations, or small reminders of shared experiences. The mistake many men make is assuming that if they cannot see evidence of being missed, then they were never important at all. But emotional influence does not always appear in obvious ways. Sometimes it exists quietly in the background, shaping how a person remembers the past and how they approach relationships in the future. Understanding this idea can help you stop chasing proof and start focusing on something much more important: rebuilding your own sense of strength and direction. One of the most common mistakes people make after a breakup is trying too hard to prove their importance. When emotions are still fresh, it is natural to want answers, reassurance, or closure. You might feel the urge to send another message, explain your feelings again, or remind her of the good moments you shared together. At first, these actions may seem reasonable. After all, you care deeply about the relationship, but when this behavior continues, it can slowly begin to create a different impression. Instead of showing strength, it can start to look like emotional dependence. When someone repeatedly asks for attention, reassurance, or validation, it places a kind of pressure on the other person, and pressure rarely inspires attraction or respect. Instead, it can make the situation feel heavy and uncomfortable. Healthy relationships grow from mutual interest, not from persuasion. When a person constantly tries to convince someone to stay, to care, or to respond, the dynamic begins to change. The relationship shifts from two people choosing each other to one person chasing while the other pulls away. This does not mean you should become cold or indifferent. Emotional honesty and kindness are important qualities, but there is a difference between expressing how you feel and trying to force someone to see your value. True confidence comes from self-control. A person who respects themselves does not beg for attention or approval. They understand that their worth does not disappear simply because someone else decided to walk a different path. When you stop chasing validation, something important happens. You regain your balance. You stop reacting from fear and start acting from self-respect. And that quiet confidence is far more powerful than any message you could send. Every meaningful relationship leaves a psychological imprint. When two people spend time together, share experiences, and build emotional memories, the mind naturally stores those moments in ways that influence the future. This is not about manipulation or trying to control how someone remembers you. It is simply how human memory and emotion work. When a man shows consistency, calmness, and emotional stability over time, he becomes more than just a passing experience in a woman's life. His presence begins to represent something reliable. In a world that often feels unpredictable and chaotic, a person who remains steady can leave a very strong impression. Think of it as becoming a point of reference. When someone experiences a relationship where they felt safe, respected, and emotionally balanced, those feelings do not disappear easily. Even if the relationship ends, the mind remembers how that person made them feel during important moments. Later in life, when new relationships appear, the mind often compares them, sometimes consciously and sometimes without realizing it. This is not done to judge others unfairly, but simply because the brain naturally evaluates new experiences by comparing them to past ones. However, it is important to understand something very clearly. Leaving a strong emotional imprint does not guarantee that someone will stay in your life. People can respect you, remember you positively, and still decide that their path needs to move in a different direction. The value of an emotional imprint is not about controlling the outcome of a relationship. It is about knowing that when you show up as a steady, respectful, and grounded person, the impact you leave behind is meaningful, and meaningful impressions tend to last far longer than we often realize.
One of the most confusing parts of relationships is the difference between attraction and commitment. Many people assume that if two individuals care about each other or feel a strong emotional connection, the relationship should naturally continue. But real life is rarely that simple. Someone can feel attraction, respect, and even deep affection for another person and still decide not to stay in the relationship. Attraction is an emotion. Commitment is a decision. Emotions can change with circumstances, timing, personal goals, or life pressures. Commitment, on the other hand, requires readiness, maturity, and a willingness to build something long term. Sometimes a person may genuinely appreciate who you are while still feeling that the relationship cannot continue. This is a difficult truth to accept, especially when you remember the good moments you shared together. It can make you question what those moments meant and whether they were real at all. But feelings and choices do not always move in the same direction. A person can miss you and still choose distance. They can think about the past and still believe that moving forward separately is the best option for both people. Understanding this distinction is an important step toward emotional maturity. When you accept that attraction and commitment are not the same thing, you stop trying to force an outcome that depends on another person's decisions. Instead, you begin focusing on the one thing that is always within your control, the way you choose to live your own life. And when you build a life based on self-respect, purpose, and stability, you create something far more valuable than chasing someone who is unsure about staying. In today's world, attention is everywhere. Compliments are easy to give, messages are easy to send, and social media makes it possible for people to receive validation almost instantly. Because of this, many men believe that giving more attention, more compliments, or more reassurance is the key to being unforgettable. But attention alone is not what leaves the deepest impression. What truly stands out are the qualities that are much harder to find: emotional stability, self respect, calm leadership, and genuine integrity. These are the traits that tend to remain in a person's memory long after the relationship itself has changed. Think about how people remember others in their lives. They often remember how someone made them feel over time, not just the words that were spoken. A man who remains calm during difficult situations, who communicates with respect, and who handles challenges with maturity creates a sense of safety around him. That feeling of emotional security is rare. Many people can offer excitement for a short period of time. Many can provide compliments or temporary attention. But a person who consistently shows reliability and emotional balance creates a different kind of experience, one that feels steady and grounded. When a woman spends time with a man who carries himself with quiet confidence and self control, she often associates him with feelings of stability and trust. Even if the relationship eventually ends, those emotional associations can stay with her. This does not mean perfection is required. Everyone has flaws, makes mistakes, and faces moments of uncertainty. What matters more is the overall pattern of behavior, whether a person shows respect, responsibility, and emotional maturity over time. These qualities are not loud or dramatic. They do not demand attention or recognition. Instead, they quietly shape how people experience your presence. And the truth is that people tend to remember the individuals who brought peace and stability into their lives far longer than those who simply tried to impress them.
After a relationship ends, the pain can feel overwhelming. It is easy to believe that the sadness you feel is entirely about losing the person you loved, and sometimes that is true. Genuine heartbreak can happen when two people share deep emotions, meaningful memories, and a vision for the future that suddenly disappears. But there is another layer that many people do not like to talk about. Sometimes the pain we feel is not only about love, sometimes it is also about ego. When someone chooses us, it creates a powerful emotional experience. Being chosen can make us feel valued, appreciated, and important. It gives us a sense of certainty that we matter in someone else's world. But when that choice disappears, it can feel like our value has been taken away with it. That feeling can be very confusing. You may believe you are only missing the person, but part of the pain may come from missing how you felt when they chose you. The confidence, the comfort, and the emotional security that came with being wanted can suddenly feel like they have vanished. This is where honest self-reflection becomes important. Ask yourself a simple but powerful question. Do I truly miss the person they were? Or do I miss the way I felt when they chose me? There is no shame in acknowledging either answer. Both are part of the human experience. But understanding the difference allows you to see your situation more clearly. Your worth does not come from someone else's decision to stay or leave. Your worth is something deeper, something that belongs to you regardless of anyone else's choices. When you begin to understand this, the pain of rejection slowly transforms into something more meaningful, a chance to rebuild your identity on a foundation that does not depend on anyone else's approval. Once the emotional storm of a breakup settles, an important question appears. What do you do with your life now? Many people spend months replaying old conversations, analyzing every message, and searching for signs that the relationship might return. But constantly looking backward only keeps you stuck in the same emotional place. Real healing begins when your focus shifts from the past to the future. Instead of trying to control what someone else feels or does, direct your energy toward the areas of life that are completely within your control. This is where personal growth truly begins. Start with your physical health. The body and mind are deeply connected. Exercise, movement, and discipline help release emotional tension and create mental clarity. When you train your body consistently, you are also strengthening your ability to handle challenges with resilience. Next, focus on building stability in your personal and professional life. Improving your skills, advancing in your career, and managing your finances responsibly creates a sense of independence and confidence. Financial discipline is not only about money, It is also about proving to yourself that you are capable of creating a secure future. Your environment also matters. The place where you live should reflect the person you are becoming. A clean, organized space encourages focus, productivity, and calm thinking. Small changes in your surroundings can have a powerful effect on your mindset. Equally important are the people you spend time with. Surround yourself with friends who support growth, accountability, and positive habits. Good friends remind you to stay strong when your emotions try to pull you back into unhealthy patterns. And perhaps most importantly, reconnect with a meaningful purpose in life. Choose goals that challenge you and give your days direction. Your mission should never be to win someone back. Your mission should be to build a life that continues to grow, evolve, and improve regardless of who stays or leaves. When you commit to this path, something powerful happens. You stop living as someone who lost a relationship and start living as someone who is actively building a stronger version of themselves. Sometimes, after you've focused on rebuilding yourself, a former partner may attempt to reconnect. It is natural to feel a mixture of excitement, curiosity, and uncertainty, but how you respond in that moment can define your emotional growth and self-respect. A man who has rebuilt himself does not react out of desperation or longing. He approaches the situation calmly and objectively. Instead of chasing or pleading, he evaluates the relationship clearly. Is this person bringing peace into my life or adding confusion? Are they showing genuine effort, accountability, and respect? Do their actions align with their words? And do they demonstrate maturity? Your response should come from your center, from a place of confidence, self-respect, and clarity, not from pain, fear, or the need for validation. This approach does not mean being cold or unfeeling. It means setting boundaries and prioritizing your own emotional well-being. Remember, attraction or regret on her part does not automatically translate into a healthy or meaningful relationship. The strongest choice is to assess whether reconnecting actually improves your life, rather than simply trying to recapture the past. A man who responds this way shows strength, dignity, and integrity. And these are the qualities that leave a lasting impression, no matter what happens next.